Okay. Hi, Sarah. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Petra?
I'm fine, thank you. And it's so beautiful where you are. Tell me exactly where are you in the United Kingdom at the moment?
So I am in Longborough, which
Yeah,
is near Morton in Marsh, which
yeah.
is in the Cotswolds. And the
Wonderful.
closest city we're nearest to is Bath. So it's a very, very beautiful, picturesque place. And yeah,
Yeah.
great place to be.
I used to visit Bath very frequently because we lived in that area. Well, not we lived in Somerset, so I know that area a little bit. Have you been to Bath?
Not yet. I haven't had enough time off. So I'm
Oh,
hoping I'll make it before I'm
yeah,
finished.
yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me about this performance that you're doing at the moment.
So I just debuted Sieglinde at the Longborough Festival Opera's 2021 season. We were scheduled to do this in 2020.
Mm,
And what they are doing is their third complete ring cycle. And
mm,
it started in 2019 with Das Rheingold. And then with COVID,
mm.
the festival was delayed by a year and everything's been pushed. So this year we are doing a semi-staged concertante version of Die Walküre.
Oh,
And then
okay.
in 2024,
Mm.
uh, all four operas will be put on consecutively. So for
Oh,
4 years,
okay.
they do
Mm,
one of each of the operas from the Ring in chronological order. And then in 2024, we will do it again and come back. And this is the third time that they have mounted a complete ring cycle. And we're very fortunate because we have Anthony Negus, who is the conductor and one of the founders of the festival,
mm,
in that he wanted to put Wagner on, and
mm,
the Graham family, were the ones who just grabbed onto this idea and have made this incredible festival. They've built an opera house in the middle of the
what?
Cotswolds, and it's just really incredible to see what passion and faith
Mm,
and commitment and can make in 20 years. So this is
mm.
the third ring cycle that they've done in 20 years, which is amazing. And a lot of young Wagnerian singers come here and start their careers here doing smaller roles and larger roles. I was very fortunate that I was cast as Sieglinde the first time, very exciting. And also what's special is this time we have Amy Lane, who was with the Royal Opera House for a long time, and now she also runs an opera festival in Denmark. And so this is a ring cycle that is being directed by a really wonderful woman opera director, which is
Oh,
exciting. It's
wow.
very exciting.
Yeah.
So there's a
And
real
and
balance of young and old and new
mm,
and established, and
mm.
it's wonderful to be here.
That's so great to hear, and that that they could manage to do it now in this time.
Yes, well, they have really such an incredibly strong group of donors and supporters who
Mm.
make this possible. It is a private opera festival,
Oh, okay.
and it's just really impressive. And also the
Mm.
imagination that it took for them to put this on this year. And we're up, we're running, we're making music.
Fantastic.
Yeah, they actually put up a circus tent for the other three productions so
Mm.
that they can get more people into the audience. Ours, as it's Wagner, it would not be appropriate to do Wagner in a circus tent. So we are
Yeah.
in the house proper, the theater proper. However, what that means is they can only put in 1/3 of the audience every night. So we're doing
Okay.
an additional two performances within
Mm.
our regular 2-week cycle, which is a little exhausting.
I can
But no one's
imagine.
complaining. No one's complaining. It's just Wagner is a marathon before, and
Yeah.
even more so now.
Mm. It's amazing how the artists now, I mean, I can just imagine how much that takes from you, but still you are willing to do that, and because you understand how important it is this time, that you know, with all these measures, that that you still can perform, and that you are able to be there, and also the audience, you know, to be there for the audience as well.
Well, the audiences have been just wonderful. They're just as excited to be
Really.
back in their seats as we are to be back on stage. And I mean, everyone has their adjustments. I don't know what it feels like to sit in a theater where there are so few people. But I know everyone feels very happy that they were able to get the tickets that they did get. They sold out within 5 minutes.
Really.
So yeah, and there
Amazing.
are people that are begging for tickets that wish they could come. So, you know, it's wonderful to know that the
Yeah.
audience is hungry to be back in their seats and participate and interact with art. It's not just the performers, it's also the audience. And I mean, it's been a difficult, and it's been a huge learning curve because we had to do everything socially distanced. So all of the performing, we're semi-staged. However, everything is socially distanced, which sometimes is kind of funny because my first act is this very famous love duet in the opera world, and we're never close to one another. Well, the closest we get is 2 years.
Yeah. Oh, really? But how do you manage to get this emotion across then, when it's,
well, this is where having a wonderful director comes into play. Amy Lane had such a clear idea, and she could articulate what she wanted us to do physically, but also she was able to give us an emotional background for us to tap into. And then Amy also works with Lorena Randy, who is an absolutely phenomenal choreographer. And she came in and worked with us. So there's an element of gesture that is playing a huge role in conveying a sense of togetherness. There's mirroring and levels on the stage, and it's very interesting. I've done a significant amount of Baroque opera, and so this element being used in a very, I would say like a bare bones set, but then this element of gesture being incorporated, I think is wonderful because it also gives images and pictures and scenes for people, and for the audience, they walk away with that. We have half of the orchestra is also on stage. So we were also affected in that you can't have a full orchestra. So it's a reduced orchestral version for 28 players with the strings on stage with us. And so we're moving around them, again, maintaining social distance. And I think for them, it's also been interesting having a bunch of loud Wagner voices with them. They don't have the distance that some of them would probably like. But it's been really, it's been really interesting and inspiring because all of these people with all of these skills found a way, despite what would have seemed like limits. We found a way around them, which I suppose is what art is, right? You go to school, you learn form, you learn structure, and then you learn to mold that yourself. And this is just what these times have done, is that it's pushed people to come up with other really wonderful ideas.
But
the
isn't
audience
it,
responds.
yeah, isn't it enriching to think that now you've thought of a different way to play this role, or you played, I mean, you play the role or sing the role, but that there's additional things you now can do, you know, in this setting.
Yes,
And maybe it will be something that you, even without social distancing, it would be something that you could use in the future, you know?
yes, the way of feeling and the
Mm,
way of needing to convey while not being able to come into my my colleague's space
mm,
has been a very different experience. There were times when it was very exhausting in the rehearsal process because we would break everything down and do it very slowly, and having to maintain that level of connection to someone while social distancing could, there were evenings where I would get home and just go straight to bed.
really?
It was
Mm,
really, really taxing. But
mm,
then, you know, you just keep going up and you build up and then you come over. And now we have this beautiful arch. I'm also very fortunate. I'm singing with a seasoned Siegmund Peter Wed, and he is also such a physical singer.
mm.
He gives so much. He's not just a superb singer, but he's a physical singer. And so there's always a sense of energy coming from him that I'm then responding to
Amazing. Yeah.
between us. And that is one of the things that is most important
Mm,
actually in this production for me with him, because there's so much of us on the stage by ourselves,
mm.
making sure that there's that energy between us, because it's you can't just rely on having a theatrical hug or
Yeah,
something
yeah,
else.
yeah.
So I think that in some ways this Sieglinde, it's my first time with her, but I feel that she's been developed in a way that she is perhaps a little more singular than she would
Mm,
have been in a more traditional production. However, any other productions that I go into with her,
mm.
this is such an incredible place to have as a base to build from. And I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah, it reminds me now that during lockdown, I spoke to a choreographer who had actually also re-choreographed one of the ballets he did, and specifically that the dancers wouldn't touch, and they don't touch each other. And he actually said that that created a new, almost a different tension, you know, a different feeling. And he said that you wouldn't, it's not done in such a way that you think, oh, they're not supposed to touch it. He did it in such a way that it's actually part of the choreography. And I find this fascinating, that, like you say, the artist doing this, you know, and coming up with these ideas and exploring really this emotion and this energy that we have inside us.
Well, I was reminded, because there's so much in this first act love scene about the tension of when you first are attracted to someone
Mm,
and you are in their space, but you're still maintaining your own space.
mm.
And in some ways, you know, it's that thing of, are you going to reach out and will they reach out?
Oh
And
yeah,
will
yeah,
you actually cross into that other person's bubble? This concept
yeah,
that we use all the time now,
yeah.
but before we didn't think about these
Mm,
physical boundaries in the same way unless it was a really heightened
yeah.
situation. And I just, you know, it's just thinking of constantly being in like that, in that suspended situation
Mm,
where you're not going to cross that line of the next step.
mm,
So there always is a bit of tension there. And
mm,
yeah, it's been uh, a very interesting process.
mm.
Yeah, there have been times when it's been tiring and times when it's
Yeah.
also become very lonely. because you're around people and you're working all the time. And I've had to social isolate throughout. I had to come into England, quarantine for 10 days. I was staying with some wonderful people, but you're still keeping space. I'm not with my family. So there's this element of being an island, but also an island that floats.
Oh yeah. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to be really grounded, but you're moving, but you're still moving, and that's on and off the stage.
Yeah. Tell me, and this production, the costumes, and I always love the costumes of the operas and the ballets, but are they all specifically designed for this production? Is it a new production, or has it been done? So
what happened, because this is a concertante, the idea generally is that you use your own clothes. Okay. And actually, I was just speaking with some of my colleagues about this yesterday. We really liked the concept that Amy developed, which was that we would all be in black and some people with white. And we would use our own clothing so that there was an element of comfort for us.
Okay. Yeah.
And that, of course, also changes how you inhabit the character, because you're connecting more to the you within that, or your experiences that are connected to the emotional ideas, which is kind of wild when you're playing demigods and gods and all these things. However, the Valkyries, I really love the Valkyries and the Brunhilde, because they all have these amazing jackets, and everyone just, I think, got to have a fun time with their own wardrobes, and they just look fierce and fabulous. And this has been something that's been really nice, because it was such a simple concept, but it's really worked visually. And Frika is the only one who has color, who wears green. And it's such a powerful visual to have on the stage, because she's only in act 2. However, it is what she says to Wotan that changes everything. And so for her to be that blast of color is also very significant. We have wonderful lighting as well, but it's simple. It's the idea that people are coming to a concert and then they're going to experience a semi-staged, I feel that it's full on staged. I'm running around. We have different levels that we're on, which also enable us to maintain social distancing, see the conductor from different places with the orchestra. And the orchestra is used in a way, our movement around the orchestra, as if they are part of our set and our scenery. They aren't just musicians, how we move around them. So it's been really interesting. Yeah, I'm curious what will happen in 2024, because then we will do the originally planned opera, the full opera then. We will build from what we have done and start anew, because this time they had to, no costumes, no hair and makeup. We have to reduce people.
Oh, I see.
So all of the artists are social distancing and bubbling, and yeah, I mean.
But you know what? It would be really actually interesting to leave this as is in the future, because I was thinking we now want to move out of this, but I think in say 10 years time or 5 years time, we will look back and we will really remember these very important things. And I think we've all learned very important things. And I've actually spoken to a conductor also who said that even the sound that the orchestra is making at the moment is different, because the musicians are further apart. And really, I wonder if we should not keep these things, so that we could look back on that. So But that would be very interesting what they do then in 2024.
I think for this, as part of a complete ring cycle,
Yeah.
there is a continuity between, you have singers who appear in several of the operas, and there is a continuity that our production needs to match. When
I see. Yeah.
However, I mean, I also think for the additional operas that they're doing here, those are standalone productions. And I think that one really good thing about reduced orchestral versions is that it will make it more accessible, because there are so many reduced orchestral versions coming, being developed right now. It will make some of these larger operas more producible for smaller companies.
Oh, yeah.
And even if we don't keep the social distancing, we will have these really beautiful, rich versions that otherwise people wouldn't have invested the money in, which means smaller companies and younger artists and people that are working not necessarily in the establishment can do these operas, especially these grand operas that normally are only put on in the big houses. So I think that there's an accessibility that's being made available to us through this. And I believe that that will be the thing that passes and continues in the future, which is good.
Yeah, I think it's a great, a wonderful way, and also very inclusive then, you know, to give everybody a chance, and especially I think also of the young artists, you know, the young upcoming artists and so.
Well, we're very fortunate. Everyone is so happy to be back on stage. Everyone comes to work with just an incredible amount of energy and appreciation. Like, yeah, there were times when I was going to work and I was just feeling very verklempt. Like, this was just so overwhelming. Also, just the kindness that I've experienced with these colleagues. And yeah, it's been a really magical, wonderful time with many factors that we could not prepare for, that you just had to, I think that's the thing too, is we have all experienced in this last year and a half, whether you are an artist or not. You go every day and you take what happens on that day and you make your adjustments. And so there's a level of flexibility that we've all been required to tap into now.
Yeah, I think it's this thing where you say everybody has been in this, you know, everybody understands, and in some way I think it's brought a type of unity, because I think amongst artists probably also, because you were also affected in the same way. But somebody said to me that we have, if we think about it, everybody in the world, this is really at one time where everybody in the world had to live through this pandemic. So
yeah, I don't even know how I'll get home, because since I've been here, Austria has banned direct flights from the UK. So I still have to sort that out, and I'm very anxious to be home, because it's 2 months of me being away from my family. Because of the mandatory 10-day quarantine, it was simply not possible for me to go out or for my family to come. And I'm not the only one experiencing that. You know, everyone is doing that, and we're all making choices for work in particular that we have to. But yeah, we're not, you know, just to know you're not alone. Like, this is becoming normal.
Yeah.
And
but I wanted to ask you about that, because you're a mama, and it's it must be also, like you say, it's difficult to be away from your family and your baby. She's still very young. And how do you cope with that? How do you have contact? Do you Skype or video call? What do you
We've
do?
been doing FaceTime, and
Yeah.
my daughter, some days, if I get her at the right time, be it after the nap or, she'll be very happy to see me.
Mm,
There have been times when she's been very unhappy with me. There are
mm,
times when she's too tired. But generally, for her, this has been a time where she's getting a lot of attention from her Oma and Opa.
oh
They're
yeah.
there a lot. My husband has very good support helping
Mm,
him. So for my daughter, it's strange that Mama's gone. The
yeah.
adjustment was that I was not in the house because normally she's gone and I'm home. For
Yeah.
me, there have been times where it's been really, really hard, where
Mm,
I have just missed her so completely.
mm, I
But I
can
remind
imagine.
myself, this is harder for me. This is my decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
Mm,
was particularly difficult the month leading up to my departure.
mm,
The closer I got to my departure, the harder it was. I found that
mm,
very, very stressful in a way that I hadn't anticipated. But once
mm,
I landed, with the stress of having to deal with COVID tests, arrival in a new
mm,
city, trying to maintain social distance with public transportation, a quarantine, all of
mm,
this work. I mean, thank goodness Wagner is as demanding as it is, because in many ways that has been a luxury of a distraction. Uh,
mm.
I'll come home and I'm tired and I go to sleep. So it's when
Yeah.
I have a few days off and I really ache for her, but I can't wait to be
Mm,
back. And I'm also, because she's younger,
mm.
I don't believe that she'll have much memory of this.
No. No, I think sometimes it's I can tell you this will prepare you for when she's a teenager, because then they don't want anything to do with you.
But there were a couple times when I spoke to her and she was rather saucy, and I
Oh
thought,
yeah.
oh, okay, so it's already started.
Yeah. And the other thing that I've also realized after raising children is that you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, you know.
My husband said that every time they have a tea party, she always makes a cup for me, and I'm still
Oh,
included.
yes,
So
see. Yeah,
that
yeah,
makes me
yeah,
relieved.
yeah. Now,
Yeah.
I think after being, through the child raising time, I think in the it really depends on if you're happy. I think it has to do their energy and their happiness, or their it has a lot to do with your happiness. And I mean, it sounds strange if you say that, but I think they get your energy from being content in your work and in your job. And even if you're not there, when you are with her, she will sense that um from you. And I think that is really important. Yeah.
We have in our family, we have our version of consistency,
Mm,
and this is my daughter's normal.
yeah.
Having a parent that's there. I mean, it's not going to be her normal, I hope, for a long time.
Mm,
But when this is what happens in our home,
mm,
there isn't a question
exactly.
about it. She's
Yeah.
not old
Yeah.
enough to be comparing to other
No.
children's.
No.
I hope that I hope that whatever happens with
Mm,
regards to the pandemic, that we're not seeing ourselves having to be in quarantine situations for such a
mm,
length period of time in the future. I hope
yeah.
that next time I am able to connect with my family at
Mm,
least once in person
yeah.
over a
Yeah.
period.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, but you're a great mama. I saw you, and she's a happy girl. And the picture that I took of you in the window of the three of you, she was adorable.
well, she loves Peppa Pig, so I
Yeah.
found a Peppa Goes to London book and posted it to her, and so
Oh, that's so
she
sweet.
Mama Peppa. So
Oh, that
yeah.
is so sweet. Yeah. And she would have been, she would have loved it there if she could have, if they could have joined you there, because it's so beautiful there in that part of England, really.
But
Yeah.
have all of they have
Mm.
chickens on site actually at
Really.
Opera Festival Opera, and where
Mm.
um, I'm staying in a little apartment above a very lovely garage, but
Mm.
they have rabbits here, and you know, Alma, she's
Oh, that's so sweet.
all children her age, she loves animals, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So
Listen now. Sorry.
I send her pictures of the animals to
Oh,
participate.
okay. Oh, but that's sweet. But tell me, Sarah, do you have a like a pre-ritual or a pre-performance ritual, something that you do before a performance?
I don't really think so. I mean, maybe I do and
Okay.
I'm not aware of it.
Yeah.
I like to be by myself.
Mm.
I do show up about an hour to a half hour before my
Mm.
call so that there's no stress. I can do whatever little things I do. My,
Mm.
I suppose my pre-performance ritual is to have as little stress
Mm.
before I need to be in my costume and on stage,
Oh,
and
okay.
taking my time. I
Mm.
don't, the days off, I attempt to be as quiet as possible. And
Mm.
so in that regard, being away from my family also reduces
Mm.
uh, requirements for me to be present, because
Mm.
children deserve their parents' attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I'm working, it is for that time, and
Mm.
I need to be quiet. But I would say it's more of the way that I am living
Mm.
is the ritual, and
Oh, okay. Mm.
well, it's not. The only difference is that there's no hugs and things after a
Oh, yeah.
performance. You know,
Mm.
keeping to yourself, being quiet, making sure
Mm.
that you have the energy. But
Mm. Mm.
nothing. I haven't developed anything in
Oh,
particular.
okay. I'm always hoping when I ask this question that there will be some really um,
Look
out
back
there
in
thing.
5 years. Maybe in 5 years I'll have
Oh,
something.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But listen, this was so lovely to talk to you, and this is so extremely interesting, this production you're talking about. And is there a user, or there was a streaming, you said?
Well, we will be streaming. We're
Oh, okay.
doing video tomorrow,
Yeah.
and then they'll do all of the editing, and then it will be available to be streamed. And I'm still waiting for the final details on that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So,
So let me know, then I would love to have a glimpse and see what
of
it's
course,
like.
of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing too, is companies that normally wouldn't have offered this kind of
Yeah.
are now doing that, which
Mm.
is good for the artists.
Yeah.
Very good for the artists. So
And no, interesting also, because now people all around the world can have a glimpse and or see it, or experience it. And even though it's not like a live performance, I mean, at least you have an idea of what it's like. And I think it's wonderful. I think the combination of live performances and streaming is a very lovely idea.
well, and I think it's nice to document all of the work that people have done
Yeah.
and to be able to see that. I think that's
Mm.
really wonderful.
Yeah.
And especially for places such as the Longborough Festival Opera, it's
Mm.
a smaller festival. The house is small. There's a very limited number of seats. And
Mm.
so even at full capacity, it
Mm.
can't have as many people come to it.
Mm.
And yet this enables them to reach out to a global audience, which is
Exactly.
wonderful.
Yeah.
And the quality of musicians and artists that they have coming here, that's very exciting. There are lots of Wagner fans who travel specifically here to come and see the festival.
Mm.
But now this can be connected to
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
aren't even necessarily a part of that. So that's,
Yeah.
I think, good.
Yeah.
It also leads new audiences.
Exactly. Yeah. No, definitely. But have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you.
And it was lovely to speak to you, and I hope to see you when you're back in Vienna.
Thank you. Me too.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah.
Okay.
Bye. Bye.